Yep. Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What can this slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. With I'm gonna burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad, back with you with Toad Stool Sports for Wednesday, January 21st. Oh yeah, we're gonna consider ending it all here, man. I mean, this is I don't know what to tell you, and I have a day where my read is like pretty good on probably a majority of the games, and the ones that I pick are all horrible losers. Like, what am I supposed to do? I'm a horrible loser. Should have gone with some of the favorites. Probably should have gone with Iowa State. Unbelievably easy winner on that one if I'd given it out. NC State would have won. Like, some of these leans that I had all wound up falling correctly or easily winning. And then the ones that I pick are all horrible losers. They can all just fuck themselves. LSU only missed by like a few points, but that was a loser. Baylor was not even close. I haven't looked at the box score. I don't know what happened. Nashville was basically never close. They were in a hole right away and never even came close to being a winner there. Nashville still sucks. They can suck my ass, obviously. Fuck Nashville. Fuck the Predators. They have the worst fucking name ever. The sex offenders. They should be in jail for what they did to me yesterday. Tyson, what's up? Mr. Pinsey, what's up? I don't know if we're bouncing back or not, because all of my plays today are pretty much like the most hideous underdogs that you could possibly think of. Kyle, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. Let's get into it. We have college basketball here. All right. Where do I even begin with college basketball? It's a Wednesday board, so we do have a lot of power conference teams are in action on Wednesday. Probably more on Tuesday, though. I mean, we have a few, I don't want to say isolated games. We have a few games at 6 p.m. I don't really find too many of them that interesting, although we do have UNC Asheville is at USC Upstate. UNC versus USC, but not the UNC and USC. North Carolina Asheville and South Carolina Upstate. We had UNC Asheville, I believe, on Saturday, and they covered against Winthrop. So they are coming up a pretty big game there against Winthrop. So that's really the only thing I have here. Third road game in 4 games as well is not really that easy. So my lean in this one would be USC Upstate. They did just play High Point, but they got blown out. So I don't think they're going to be in any sort of hangover spot after that or anything like that. I think they're going to be looking for another conference win as they're down near the bottom of the standings. And probably fairly easy to overlook. So USC Upstate would be a lean in that one. They're up from a pick'em to a 2-point favorite in that one. What else? We have in the SoCon, Samford and Wofford. Wofford, the winners of the conference tournament last year to get into the tournament, although they were not the best team in the conference last year, but they did win it. Samford looks like they're down. They're having a down year, and they're also coming off 2 huge games, really, against Furman and East Tennessee State, and they almost won both games against the teams that are the top 2 in the conference right now, standing-wise. So, to me, this looks like kind of a bad spot. Like, how do you put in that amount of effort 3 games in a row? And they also have not been particularly good on the road. Samford's only conference road win is against VMI, who are pretty atrocious. Also lost on the road to Chattanooga and UNC Greensboro. I mean, those are not good losses, really. So I don't like Samford on the road here. Probably would lean to Wofford in this one. Wofford did just beat Furman on the road, though. That was a big win for Wofford as well. So they're not exactly in the greatest spot either, I wouldn't say. But at least for them, they are back at home, and they lost their last home game to Chattanooga. So I think there might be more room for maybe bouncing back from that. The money seems to not agree with that, though. Wofford, 67% of the tickets, only 66% of the cash. They're laying 4 points here. I mean, I guess one thing you could say is that, well, Samford would still get up for them because Wofford's still ahead of them in the standings, and Wofford did win the conference last year after Samford won, I believe, the year prior. But that's the only thing that I could really say about that. I don't know. I have nothing else to say about it. Alexander, what's up, man? Furman and Citadel. I'll talk about it. I mean, that was not one that was even on my list to talk about. I have zero interest personally in that game. We do have moving into the 6:30 slate. Radford and Winthrop is actually a pretty good game in the Big South. You can watch this on ESPN Plus if you have it, which I still think it's worth it because they have so many games on it. Radford just beat Longwood by 2. Longwood not doing that well this year, so Radford kind of just got through that game. Radford, still they're better than their record looks, man. This Radford team is really not that bad, although they're proving that in conference play, and kind of the same with Winthrop, though. Both these teams, their overall record doesn't really tell you how good these teams actually are. Like, they're definitely the next 2 teams in this conference behind High Point. Winthrop and Radford are definitely the next 2. None of the other teams, I would say, are even really that close. So this is kind of the battle for second place here in the conference, even though Winthrop did win against High Point. Winthrop had the game after that where we faded them in what I thought was a sandwich spot. We got the cover with UNC Asheville, so Winthrop, you would think they would bounce back from that, so I probably prefer Winthrop a little bit in this game just because that was it's just part of the sandwich that we found in the last game was that, well, they would be more focused on Radford here. So that's kind of my read on that. Although you could argue that both teams are kind of in bounce back spots here. Winthrop laying 10 points looks crazy, though. 10.5 down to 10. It looks like some of the money came in against them, but you see Winthrop a 13-8 team, but they're laying double digits. The number just looks crazy, but I think it might actually be warranted. This Winthrop team is definitely battle-tested, out of conference. They're probably a bit under the radar here, so that's probably the way that I would lean in that game. Big Ten Network, big conference teams start at 7 p.m. Maryland is at Illinois. Number 11, Illinois. And Illinois might even be underranked. Ken Baum has them in the top 10. They're definitely legit. Maryland is awful. Maryland did get a win, though, against Penn State, so Maryland broke a 4-game losing streak. So first conference win, you know, I talk about that. Sometimes when a team gets their first conference win, they can play a little bit looser because they don't have to worry about that anymore. Get some new momentum, just figure it out. This is still going to be a third road game in 4 games, though. Their other 2 were on the Pacific Coast, so it's still not that easy for them here. For Illinois, it's possible they overlook Maryland, though, because they beat Minnesota, which is no big deal, but they do have Purdue on deck on Saturday, I believe. So it could be a little bit of a look ahead for Illinois. So if I was going to do anything with this game, I would probably lean towards taking the points with Maryland. But, man, I know it's ugly. I mean, I have some ugly dogs here as well. The money seems to not agree with that, which surprises me. 50-50 on the tickets, 94% of the cash on Illinois. But again, these early morning reads can completely mislead you. Like, that's why I try to rely on my situational handicapping as well, because the market reads don't always wind up being what they look like in the morning. I would probably take the points in that one. Illinois also doesn't play fast like they did the last few years. So looks like it might be a lower scoring game as well, where taking a ton of points does actually factor into that a little bit. Total in the high 140s in that game. ESPN 2 at 7 p.m. has Notre Dame at North Carolina. Garrett, your North Carolina Tar Heels. Notre Dame's lost 4 games in a row. Probably they're going to show up for a game against North Carolina. Notre Dame is already out on the East Coast here. They just played Virginia Tech. So not a horrible travel spot for them, really, though it is a second straight road game. But teams are used to that. North Carolina is having to travel back from the Pacific Coast, so they're actually traveling cross-country. So I think the spot looks a little bit worse for North Carolina. I know they lost both games out on the Pacific Coast to pretty mediocre Stanford and Cal teams. Just not good from North Carolina, but I don't know if they're going to bounce back in this game because they have the cross-country trip and they have Virginia on deck, which is going to be a big game on Saturday. So it could be a little bit of a look ahead. So I would have to lean towards Notre Dame in this game, plus the points. I don't think North Carolina is actually going to lose, but I would lean towards taking the points in the game. North Carolina is up to a 12.5-point favorite. 87% of the tickets, 99% of the cash on North Carolina. I think they're going to wind up being a public side, though. The public's going to, I think, just assume, oh, well, North Carolina's going to bounce back, of course, when they come back home. Not so sure that's going to be the case. The total's not that high at 148. So it makes taking the points look better as well. In the Missouri Valley, we do have Murray State, who I apologize, I forgot about Murray State when I did my bracketology. I still have Belmont winning that conference, even though I know Belmont is below Murray State in the standings there. But I forgot to mention Murray State is definitely in the mix there in that conference for sure. There's no doubt about it. And they might even be getting overlooked, surprisingly, because Murray State has made the tournament multiple times not that long ago. When they had Ja Morant, they definitely made an impact in the tournament. I think they might have pulled off multiple wins. And then I think actually even recently, post Ja Morant days, Murray State actually did win one game in the tournament. What was that, like 2 years ago? That crazy, like, double overtime game in the first round against San Francisco, I think is what it was. And then St. Peter's, after beating Kentucky, beat Murray State, and I took a loss on that one. I shouldn't have played Murray State in that game, though, man. I have a habit of fading those teams that pull off massive upsets in the tournament. But Murray State off a, like, grueling double OT game. I'm an idiot. I should not have played that. Anyway, Murray State in this game. This is on CBS Sports. They're at Drake. I don't know how we feel about the Drake right now in this one. Murray State just barely got by Indiana State at home, though. Murray State's on a roll. They still have not lost in conference, so they do have momentum, and they're coming off a not great performance where they probably should have won more easily against Indiana State. Now they get Drake. Drake not that good this year. Drake did win the conference last year, but Murray State already did beat Drake once at home, so I guess there is a little bit of in-season revenge here maybe for Drake, or it might cause Murray State to just overlook them a little bit. Drake might make some adjustments maybe to what went wrong in that first game. Murray State has Northern Iowa, Illinois State, Belmont all on deck, and those are three pretty big games, although Northern Iowa's kind of faded a bit, so maybe that makes it less of a look ahead than it would have been otherwise. I could see it going both ways here, man. Drake should show up for this game as well. Drake is pulling off no, they didn't pull off an upset. My mistake. They lost at UIC, actually, Illinois-Chicago. So Drake, I believe they were actually an underdog in that game, though. Illinois-Chicago, not that bad this year, but Drake took that loss. Drake's lost 3 of their last 4 games. Back at home, multiple of those games they just played around the road. So back at home, they might be in better shape here. They did lose their last home game, two of their last 3 home games, but to Belmont and Illinois State, who are both pretty good in the conference, although so is Murray State. So it's a tough read in this game. I think it's going to be an interesting game. Murray State's up from 5 to 5.5 here. 80% of the tickets, 93% of the cash on Murray State. I mean, I'd probably lean that way as well towards laying it with Murray State, but because you're still getting the better team here off of a pretty bad home performance, so that's kind of the way that I would like to lean in that game. But I don't have a huge opinion on that. And then that Indiana State team that almost upset Murray State is going to Bradley here. Indiana State could be in bad shape after that, man, playing another road game here off that big performance. They had upset Illinois State the game before that. Now, I know they lost to Drake by 2 earlier this year at Drake, so they still don't have the, if you want to call it revenge, I don't know, but they still haven't beaten the team that won the conference last year, although, of course, Drake is different this year and not as good. So Indiana State does have them on deck here. I don't think they're going to overlook Bradley. It's really just a matter of, I think Indiana State is, I forget what I was going to say. Well, they're coming off 2 big games, man. They beat Illinois State. They almost beat Murray State. I think they just might not have that much in the tank here for Bradley. Bradley is the better team here. Bradley did just lose in a blowout to Illinois State, so they might be looking to bounce back here, back at home. I would only play Bradley in this game probably if I was going to play it. They're up from 7 to 8.5, so the money seems to agree with this. Would have been a lot better to lay 7, which is somewhat key in basketball. 67% of the tickets, 99% of the cash on Bradley. So the money does seem to agree with that one. Patriot League has Colgate and American, which is one of the better matchups as far as Patriot League performance. As far as Patriot League games go, this is one of the better games, which isn't saying much. But Colgate just easily beat Bucknell. Bucknell's not very good this year. Colgate only beat American by 2 the last time they played them at Colgate. So Colgate didn't do that well in that game. So maybe they actually have some adjustments to make off of that, although, of course, American will show up for this game as well. Colgate wins this conference most years recently, although they did not last year. American actually won it last year. But Colgate did just beat American. Now American might be looking for a little bit of revenge, possibly. American beat us the other day by beating Army, or I thought American was in a sandwich spot. Army is god-awful, though. American had beaten Navy, who was at the top of the conference. I think they still are. And they had Colgate on deck, so I thought that was a sandwich spot. So part of that handicap was that American should be looking ahead to this game and want to play in this game. They are now a 2-point favorite after opening as a 1-point dog. So the favorite flipped here. Some money came in on American early, and I don't really have much of a reason to disagree. I guess I'll lean to American as well in this one. I mean, they did still lose to Colgate the first time, so they still have not beaten Colgate this year. So I don't know if that's really the determining factor. I mean, revenge is overrated, but I don't know. Those are my thoughts on that game. Peacock at 7 p.m. We have a Big East game between Georgetown and Villanova. Georgetown, my first reaction to Georgetown's last couple of games is we got to fade Georgetown here, man, as they're coming off really 3 big games where they had a lead in the second half against Seton Hall. Don't remind me, because that was a loss for us with Georgetown. And my read on Seton Hall has been pretty good, man. Seton Hall covered last night, which I also was correct about. I'm so mad that all 3 games that I was on lost, and I had all these other college basketball reads correct last night. But anyway, Georgetown faded in the second half against Seton Hall. They played really close at Creighton, only losing by 3. And then they played UConn basically to the wire in the last game, only losing by 2. Coming off of a monster game like that, I think it makes sense that you have to fade Georgetown. But this is not on my card. I mean, my problem is they might still get up for a game against Villanova. And perhaps the bigger problem is that Villanova just had a big game against St. John's. They did lose at home, but that was a big game, man. It was a fairly close game. I also called that game. I was correct about St. John's in that game as well. Villanova, big game, though, man. And Villanova has UConn on deck themselves, so they are actually in a sandwich spot. So both of these teams are in terrible spots. So I just can't get involved from a side perspective in this game. I mean, for me, it's one of those games where I would be like, well, an over kind of makes sense as far as the total, but I'm not really a totals guy. And I need to go back and check. I know the hockey over that I liked last night was not a winner. It looked like it was going to be because they were up to 4 goals in like the middle of the second period, but it was a blowout game, I think, so it ended up not being high scoring. Villanova down from 10.5 to 9.5 here, but 73% of the tickets, 77% of the cash on Villanova. Oh, man. I mean, I still think I would probably lean to Villanova in this game. I mean, I just think Georgetown coming off that monster effort against UConn is probably in the worst shape here. Villanova at least did take a loss in the last game. That was by several points, and I believe they're staying at home, so I think the spot is still a little bit better for them. Laying 9.5, though, I mean, with a slow-paced Villanova team, I don't know. I mean, I shy away from that too much, though, like we saw with Houston the other night. Some of these slow-down teams still can easily dominate and cover. Totals at 144 for what it's worth in that game. Fox Sports 1 has Xavier at Creighton in the Big East. Xavier did just beat Butler. That was a win for us, I believe. Xavier has not played for a while. I don't remember when that game was. When was that game? That was, I guess that was Saturday. I don't know, because I think Creighton's played like 2 games since then, I want to say. I don't even know, man. So maybe that was even earlier than that. Maybe that was a week ago. I don't remember, but I think we had a win on that. Butler was in a sandwich spot, I believe, right? Am I thinking of the right game? When was this game? Yeah, no, this is a week ago. Yeah, I actually don't remember. Now I got to refresh my memory here. But Xavier is coming off beating Butler. It was a decent win for them. No, I think I'm thinking of Xavier beating Providence, I think is what it was, is the game that we had. I'm thinking of a different game. My mistake. Anyway, Xavier did just beat Butler by double digits. Decent win for them. Now they have some momentum here going into Creighton. They did lose horribly to Creighton the first time they played them in Cincinnati, in Xavier. Creighton beat them by 41.
41.
Absolutely embarrassing performance from Xavier. So Xavier might want to show up and try to repay the favor here. These avenging road division underdogs or conference underdogs in the second of conference matchups actually are usually they're pretty good to look that way. Creighton did just take a loss at Providence, so that was an ugly loss to Providence. So
Ugly
Creighton
loss.
actually might be in decent shape to bounce back here as well, coming back home. So Creighton's definitely the better team. I think they probably do win the game, although I would probably lean towards taking the points with Xavier overall. Creighton's really not that heavy of a favorite. They're down from 8 to 7.5. 83% of the tickets and 93% of the cash on Creighton, but I would probably lean towards taking it with Xavier. Just
I wish I knew what this
avenging
meant.
Road dog role.
Pretty
there.
sure Toad can't
But
hear me.
I know I talk about how usually you want to go against what you just saw, and Xavier's coming off a win, Creighton's coming off a loss. So if you go by that, you'd actually want to be on Creighton in this game. So this game is obviously not on my card. I mean, this is a difficult read there. Xavier
Hi,
with
chat.
Richard Pitino there now, the son of...
Yeah, inside, I want to kill myself.
The son of suicidal Rick. Top, what's up, man?
Hey, what's
Top
up, man?
Lobster in the house. What's going on? I didn't do it. I didn't even notice. How long you been here?
I've been chilling here for a little while. I was like, I don't think you could hear me.
What's
There
up?
you go. Yeah, that's what I figured.
I had no headphones, man. I'm just
I
going.
got a show in a few minutes, but I was like, I saw that you were live, so I was like, let me pop in and say what's up to Toad.
Oh, yeah. What's up? I'm always live in the morning here, man.
What are you talking about? What is this? College football? College
basketball, yeah. College football ended, man, on Monday, the championship.
Oh, that's
on
right.
Monday.
That's right.
Yeah. Indiana
How you doing?
won the championship. What?
How you doing? How are the bets this week?
Not good. I had a really good end to last year. I was extremely hot between like September and December. Amazing. And this year has been awful.
Okay. All right. It's
Well,
still
maybe
early.
not awful, but it was like treading water for a while. And then yesterday was terrible.
Ah, jeez. I'm talking to Toad.
I mean, what,
Yeah,
what could I do?
Hold on. Yeah, Dave's here.
David
Yeah,
is
we're-
there. What's up, man?
Here we go.
What's up, handsome?
What's up, man? What's up, sexy?
How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I just took a dump.
Yeah, we're
These
gonna
are my
talk.
ride or die listeners here, man. They're actually gonna die with me, probably.
Hell yeah. This is gonna be a new Jonestown with Toad as the head of it.
Go down with the ship. Oh shit, Toad! I didn't even tell you.
It's the gambling
on,
cult. Yeah, what's up?
Well, we're gonna be late for the show, but it doesn't
Nephilim
matter.
Death Squad in the house, everybody.
Oh, we're live.
We're live.
I didn't realize
Well,
we were
Toad's live. If you just bear with me for a second, David, if you want to go ahead and vamp.
Oh, vamping. Yeah,
Vamp.
that's fine.
Yeah, because I want to show Toad something.
By the way, this branding, Toad Stool Sports,
Great.
fantastic branding, dude. You nailed
thank
it.
you. That was from Jeffrey. One of my listeners suggested that name, and I'm like, all right, let's go with it.
Shout out to Jeffrey because that's
the logo is
banger.
AI though.
Well, I mean that's fine. I mean, you know,
What
I told
isn't these days?
ChatGPT, I said, give me a toad on a toadstool. Basically, is what I said, and this is what it gave me.
It
He's
nailed
sitting
it.
on a stool on top of a toadstool mushroom.
well, what's
Well-
going on, Toad? Are we up?
Hold on. No, he's down. He's down bad.
Jeez.
It's just don't talk about it.
I'm down bad. This year I think we're down. What are we down this year? It's not that bad, but we're down on the year so far.
Well, I mean, we just started. There's time, right? We got a lot of time. We're still in January. Dude.
Usually not how these things work.
College basketball is such high volume. There's like massive variance.
So Toad, check this out. We have a fan of ours that's working on a video game. So
Oh,
it's
that's right.
an 8-bit video game. That's me.
I see that is
David.
you.
David has a Sprite, right?
Yeah. No.
Yes. Wait. Special
Oh my
characters.
God. I'm not
Yeah,
a lefty.
How awesome is that?
I'm a lefty. We'll tell him to fix it. We'll tell him to fix it.
I'm not a lefty. Yeah, I'm a righty. He's got it wrong.
I know. We got to switch it up. That's all right. Oh, Matt's in the
No,
room.
Toad's not on. We're just on his show. We've just crashed his
We
show.
crashed the show. All right, so we have to go because we do have a guest.
Stop
that is-
holding us up, Toad.
All right,
Oh, hold on,
listeners
Matt wants-
want my bets.
Wait,
so
Matt
I
wants to
got-
say hi. Go ahead, Matt.
says hi. Hold on, wait.
Get in there.
Matt, what's up, man?
Mason wanted to say hi.
Oh, Mason? Did
Mason
she?
wanted to say
Mason,
hi.
Yeah, bring her
She's got a
in.
thing for me.
He said bring her in.
But I don't think she's here right now,
She's
but
not.
she's been talking about you.
Some green shit. What the fuck is that?
All right, you want me to close it?
Yeah, please close that. All right, Toad,
what
we gotta
green
go,
shit?
dude.
What? Yeah, bye, Toad. I love you. See you
Love
later.
you, Toad. Mwah, mwah.
I don't know, man. Oh my God! All right, Nephilim Death Squad, guys, everybody, go check out their show. They're doing some really good things over there. Doing really well over there with the. They have a stranglehold on the. What do we want to even call it? The conspiracy podcast genre. It's not even that. It's like conspiracy combined with Christianity, spirituality. I don't know. I've been on their show before. You go check it out. All right. College basketball, everybody. Let's get back into it. I'm also pissed because they didn't bring Mason in, man. I wanted to talk to her. The the famed barista that they have there because they work out of a coffee shop. Where was I? Oh, yeah, Xavier Creighton. That was a I have mixed feelings on that game, man. Emotional roller coaster of a handicap in that one. We have Pitt at Boston College, ACC Network. Does this game even deserve to be on TV? Probably not. Pitt just got absolutely destroyed by Louisville. So I think when a team gets demolished by that much, you probably want to look to be on that team in the next game. They lost 100-59. I mean, there's got to be some room for bounce back here for Pitt here. BC is awful, obviously. BC coming into this game off of beating Syracuse. Nice win for BC. Now, that did end a losing streak, but I think this game would have to be Pitt or pass here. Even though usually when a team ends a losing streak, I say you might want to look for them to have some new momentum. But in this case, I think I would fade what just happened in the prior game. And nobody's going to want Pitt. And Pitt, by the way, is actually a road favorite in this game. So the odds makers are telling you what they think of Boston College here. The BC Eagles are so bad that they're a home underdog to Pitt here. After Pitt lost by 41 at home, I would only play Pitt in this game. They're down from 2.5 to 2, but BC looks like a dreaded public home underdog. That's not what you want. Public underdogs are rare-ish enough, but home public underdogs, that's crazy, dude. 60% of the tickets, 52% of the cash on BC. Yeah, I would play Pitt in that game if I was going to play it. All right, what else we got going on? Furman and Citadel for Alexander. Here we go. Furman did just take a loss, which did end a 3-game win streak that they had. Losing to Wofford, I mean, I have difficulty with this game. I could see this going both ways because Furman was favored in the game, so they didn't play that well. They lost as a favorite, but then again, they did lose to Wofford, who I think is actually in the same state as they are, right? I think they're in-state rivals in South Carolina, I'm pretty sure. So pretty big game for both teams, really. So you could see either maybe Furman would bounce back because they lost as a favorite, but you could also argue that was a big game. Now they're going to be hung over from that. They're going to the Citadel. They haven't played them yet. The Citadel, not very good. Although they have had, they've had a couple of competitive performances in here, though. They are a little bit better at home. They only lost by 9 at home to Wofford. That's not too bad. They did win against Western Carolina at home for their only conference win. Most of their conference games have been on the road so far, so maybe Citadel is not quite as bad as they look. They're certainly not good, but they did get a win over VMI in their last game as well on the road. VMI is a doormat, though, in the conference. They're even worse than Citadel. The two military institutes in this conference, and I think Citadel is actually a little brother. They're also in South Carolina, I'm pretty sure, and they're a little brother to both of those teams probably. So, I'd probably lean to the Citadel in this one if I was going to play it. The line does seem to agree, or the movement seems to agree. The line movement, Furman down from 12 to 10.5 here. So that's probably the way that I would go, taking the points with Citadel. It's a low total, 141. You're getting a home underdog you're getting a huge home underdog in the game in what looks like it's going to be a lower scoring game. So those are my thoughts on that, but I don't have a strong opinion on that one. ESPNU has this battle of Tennessee between East Tennessee and Chattanooga, where they probably thought Chattanooga might be more competitive than they actually are. The Chattanooga Mocs. I should be mocking more of these team names. What the fuck is a mock? I don't even know. Like a moccasin? We're the shoes, baby. Against the East Tennessee State Buccaneers. That's at least a better mascot. Sounds more dangerous. You got some pirates, although what the fuck pirates are in Tennessee in an inland state? They're just pirates in the I don't know, in the Cumberland River or something. I don't know what's going on there. East Tennessee State did just beat Samford. Decent win for them on the road. They're playing a third straight road game, which probably not easy, man. And Chattanooga probably is going to consider themselves to be a little brother at this point in the state of Tennessee, because East Tennessee State is playing better than they are this year. Chattanooga is on a 3-game winning streak, but they're back home here. They just beat Western Carolina in their last game. Not really a big deal, which was kind of even a sandwich-looking spot because they upset Wofford on the road the game prior to that, and they had this game on deck. I would probably lean towards Chattanooga in this game. I know they're going to be an underdog here. They're a 5.5-point underdog. 67% of the tickets, 97% of the cash on Chattanooga, so the money does seem to agree. It looks like there might be 6s out there as well. If you want money on that game, on a TV game there, I would take the points with Chattanooga. Sunbelt action, we have Troy at Old Dominion. Troy just had a pretty big revenge win over Arkansas State after Arkansas State got revenge against them for the conference final from last year. Troy got the revenge in season with a home win against Arkansas State after beating Southern Miss in a blowout. So I think Troy, they're coming off 2 pretty big games here, man. And to make it worse, they have Georgia Southern on deck. And Georgia Southern, even though I think they're not as good as their record looks, they are still the team that's closest to Troy right now in the standings in the Sun Belt. So that is a big game as well. I think this is a sandwich spot going on the road to Old Dominion, who's not having a good season at all. Old Dominion did just bounce back with a win at App State, a 4th straight road game, and they actually got a win somehow. I don't know how they did that after playing Georgia Southern really close. Although I know, like I said, Georgia Southern's overrated, but Old Dominion played them really close, and then they upset App State on the road after that. And that is really the one thing that's keeping me off of Old Dominion here, is that they're coming off an upset win themselves. They were like a 7.5-point dog at Appalachian State. So that is the one concern that I have here. But I like Old Dominion in this game otherwise. I think it is a really bad spot that Troy is in. It's a sandwich spot. Troy is up from 6 to 7.5 with juice. You might be able to get 8 on this. 67% of the tickets, 97% of the cash, though, on ODU. In agreement with me on that one. This one is really close to making my card, actually. Troy just really in an ugly sandwich spot here, man. Market reads switching around a bit as we go here, but still looks like kind of a pros versus Joes situation in that one. So, yeah, I would play Old Dominion in that game if I was going to play it. Next up is my one playing SEC network. I mean, hopefully we're going to get these, man. Let's go to the best bets. We need to bounce back. Watch the same thing happen as yesterday. Old Dominion's going to win outright or something, and then my plays are going to be losers. You know that's going to happen. We're going to be on Texas +7 against Kentucky here. I know I've been saying Kentucky's underrated. I've been saying that like all year for the most part because they've had some ugly losses in there, but we finally get a game where I think they're probably not being overvalued in this particular game because Kentucky has a better record than Texas, so the public's not going to want to be on Texas here. And I think Kentucky is just in a big letdown spot, man. They just pulled off 2 road wins against LSU, but then the big one against Tennessee in their last game. That's a big game, man. Kentucky, Tennessee, that's a rivalry. They do not like each other. Tennessee a little bit down this year, but they were still a home favorite in that game. And Kentucky pulled off the win. I believe Tennessee was a favorite. They must have been, right? Yeah, they were 6.5-point favorite. Tennessee didn't play well in the game. Kentucky got the win. Huge win for Kentucky. So I think we're going to see some potential, little bit of regression here, maybe a little bit of a letdown spot here after that. Looking at the box score, there wasn't a whole lot to see. Tennessee did lose the turnover battle. They won the rebounding battle, so Kentucky did get out-rebounded in the game, and Tennessee led the game 97% of the time and had a 17-point lead in the game. So that was a misleading result. It was one of those games where the team that won was losing the whole game, and they made a huge comeback and won right at the end. And the only time where Kentucky was even winning the game was right at the end, basically. So that does make it a pretty misleading win for Kentucky. Kind of a ridiculous win that they pulled out of their ass. They do have Ole Miss up next. I don't know that that's really going to be a look ahead or anything like that. But, and I apologize. I didn't look at the SEC tournament from last year to refresh my memory on what happened. These teams didn't face each other in the tournament. So I don't think it's a big deal. But I think Kentucky is in a letdown spot here. Texas, I think, actually needs the game more. I mean, both teams are sort of on the tournament bubble right now, but Texas is in desperation mode right now as far as they need a win for their tournament resume, man. And they did just lose at home to Texas A&M. And Texas was a favorite in this game, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they were 4.5-point favorite. Even though A&M had the better record, their record is misleading because they had a very weak out-of-conference schedule compared to some of these other teams. So Texas just took a pretty ugly loss. Texas A&M shot pretty ridiculously in the game. They shot over 50% from the field, 40% from three-point range. Texas was only 29% from three. So definitely some outliers in that game. Texas actually won the rebounding battle, so they actually kind of outplayed Texas A&M in a way. But A&M had very few turnovers in the game. They were very disciplined in the game. 6 turnovers, which you might expect maybe some more turnovers from Kentucky, even though Kentucky is at home here. Kentucky plays a little bit more frenetically, let's say. So I do like Texas in this one. The money looks like it's on Kentucky right now, so I'm disagreeing with that. 55% of the tickets, 70% of the cash on Kentucky. I don't agree. I think both teams are coming off somewhat misleading-looking results. Texas, I think, needs the game more, and they don't need to win the game for us here. They just need to cover. So if you know you're going to get a huge effort out of one team and the other team might be in a questionable effort spot, that's what you want to look for with an underdog. Now, Kentucky actually doesn't play as fast as they did the last couple of years. They're a very balanced team, actually, this year. And yes, they are in Ken Baum's top 25. Yes, they're still underrated for sure. So I think they're actually better this year than they were last year. They're pretty unlucky, according to Ken Baum as well. They play a mid-tempo style, but I actually think that's fine because Texas also plays a similar tempo to that. Texas is very imbalanced. I know they're not good defensively at all. They're actually quite good offensively. Texas is actually the better offense in this game, but the way worse defense. But Texas is also one of the bottom 13 teams in luck, in Ken Baum's luck index, so they are very unlucky right now. So you're looking at two teams that are underrated right now, but Texas, I think, is actually the more underrated of the two right now. Both teams have faced difficult schedules, so we're going with Texas. I think it's a good spot for it as well. The money's not agreeing with me, so I don't like that, but I'm going with my situational reads here, man, and that is the play in that one. All right, next up, we have another one of my best bets. How about that, back-to-back? This one is really ugly. We're going to be on East Carolina plus the points here against Wichita. This one, we don't really see much market activity yet on this one as far as the numbers, but this line, I apologize, has already dropped from 13.5 to 12 on Wichita, so keep that in mind. Hopefully, it's not going to matter once you get into these high numbers in basketball. Totals in the mid-140s, so hopefully it makes more sense to take the points in a game like that as well. By the way, the total in the Texas-Kentucky game is a little higher in the 150s, but it has dropped a little bit. But I'm not too concerned by that. But this is a game where East Carolina, I mean, I know how ugly this is, but they're still looking for their first conference win, man. So I think you're going to get an effort out of them. Just they haven't won yet in conference. They just lost at home again. I think you at least know you're going to get an effort out of them against a decent Wichita team. Wichita, I think the spot is pretty bad for them, man. They just went on the road and they upset South Florida. That was a big win in overtime. South Florida, one of the better teams in this conference, although record-wise, not really. But Wichita was a 7.5-point underdog in this game, and they won the game in overtime. Now they get this atrocious East Carolina team, and guess who Wichita plays next? Memphis and then Tulsa. Although they have a big break between those two games, but still, they have two big games up next. And Memphis is playing well enough in conference right now that they're already in second place in the conference. And we know Tulsa having a good season as well. So I think this is a sandwich spot that Wichita is in. So we're going to fade them in this game, man. And coming off an overtime game as well. Wichita, I know they're really unlucky, according to Ken Baum. They're one of the unluckiest teams in the country. So Ken Baum is telling you they're better than they appear. They almost crack his top 100. They're pretty balanced. So usually they're a play-on team, but one thing to notice here is they play really slow. So they don't really play a style that's that conducive to covering double digits at home. East Carolina does try to play fast, so playing slow might frustrate them, but the hope is that this is going to be an ugly defensive game, man. East Carolina, they're at least decent defensively. They're like a middle-of-the-pack defensive team, but they're terrible offensively. But hopefully their defense can keep them in the game, and they're very unlucky as well, according to Ken Baum, in the bottom 60, whatever, of luck. So both teams are actually teams that are unlucky, according to him. So we're taking it with East Carolina, man, and what I think is a bad spot for Wichita. Okay. We got Liberty at Western Kentucky. Liberty, the top team in the CUSA right now. And Western Kentucky, not that far behind. Western Kentucky usually makes some noise in college basketball. Liberty hasn't lost in conference yet. They're coming off an easy win over UTEP. I don't really see this being a bad spot for them here. In fact, they might actually be more focused in this game because this is a bigger game than the game that they just played. Western Kentucky did just lose pretty ugly at home to Kennesaw, so they might be looking for a bounce back here. Maybe they even overlooked Kennesaw, even though Kennesaw is now ahead of them in the standings. But maybe they were looking ahead to Liberty because it is a bigger game here. So I think both teams show up in this game, but if that's the case, I probably prefer the better team, which is Liberty. The money has come in on them. They're up from 1 to 3 now with juice. So you could have played them basically to just win the game, but now you're losing some value on that. 75% of the tickets, 95% of the cash on Liberty. These lines move so fast, man. A lot of times you lose value on these pretty quickly. Also in the CUSA, Kennesaw at Sam Houston is an interesting line where you see Kennesaw's 12-6. Sam Houston's 11-7. Those are the overall records. And Sam Houston's conference record is one game worse. Yet Sam Houston is laying 5.5. And I'll say it again, Sam Houston, they're undervalued. I mean, they're an underrated team right now. I mean, there's a reason why they're favored by that much against Kennesaw. Ken Baum is telling you that Sam Houston is actually the better team. Kennesaw did just go into Western Kentucky and beat them as I assume an underdog on the road in that one. Yeah, they were 7.5-point dogs. So Kennesaw is coming off of a pretty good upset there. Possible they're in a little bit of maybe a letdown spot after that. Again, Sam Houston, kind of easy to overlook here. Sam Houston's back at home, and the last time they were at home, they lost to Liberty, which is no shame in that, but I like when teams return home in college basketball and they lost the last time they're on their home floor because they usually get more focused for that game. They did win both games when they were just on the road, but against Jacksonville State and FIU, those are not huge wins or anything, so I like Sam Houston in this game for all those reasons. And again, the misleading line is part of it as well. They're up from 4.5 to 6. The money appears to be agreeing with me on that one. 50-50 on the tickets, 90% of the cash on Sam Houston. So the money is coming in on Sam Houston, in agreement with me there. Missouri Valley, Southern Illinois at Valpo. Southern Illinois just had a really close game against Belmont, man, and they actually beat Belmont on the road the other game this year. So they played very competitively against Belmont. Southern Illinois is actually, as I keep pointing out, they're the most underrated team in this conference, man. In the Missouri Valley, they're in second to last place in the conference, but I think they're like one of the top half of the teams in this conference. So very undervalued right now. They played a difficult conference schedule so far, but they're coming off a very difficult game against Belmont. Now they're going to Valpo, and they did already beat Valpo once at home. Don't really have a game to look forward to, though, with Evansville, but I do think it might be a hangover spot for Southern Illinois. The problem is Valpo did just get a decent win. I'm pissed about it against Northern Iowa because I thought Valpo was going to be in a bad spot coming off the game against Belmont that they almost won. Nope, we took the loss on Northern Iowa. Terrible game from them. Ugly, low-scoring game. Valpo got the win. Valpo does play Belmont again next, but I just don't really think Valpo is going to overlook SIU here. They did lose, as I said, at SIU the prior game, and that was the case with Northern Iowa as well. So I did overlook. Well, I didn't overlook it. I factored it in, but I still liked Northern Iowa in that one because revenge. You don't want to overrate it, but Valpo did have a revenge game in that last game against Northern Iowa, and this is also technically a revenge game here for an earlier season loss. So I would probably lean to Valpo in this game. It's a little bit of a tough handicap. Valpo up from 1.5 to 2 in that one, so they're actually favored in that game, believe it or not, even though I still think Southern Illinois is a very underrated commodity. All right. Memphis and Tulsa, this is a pretty big game, man, in the Conference USA. As far as Conference USA games go, Memphis is one game ahead of them in the conference standings. Memphis had a much more difficult out-of-conference schedule, which is why their overall record doesn't look as good, but they're on a nice little bit of a roll right now. They just had a momentum continuing win against UTSA in what I thought was maybe a sandwich spot for Memphis after beating Temple. But nope, they easily handled a very bad UTSA team. Now they're going to Tulsa. They should show up for the game against Tulsa. Tulsa coming into this game with a much better overall record, but Tulsa just had a nice blowout win at UAB. That is not a bad win. UAB is not that bad. Tulsa went in and just really crushed them. And I think UAB might have even been favored in this game. Let me see. Yeah, they were a 1.5-point favorite, and Tulsa just basically took them to the woodshed. So Tulsa's off the more satisfying win. Sure, they shouldn't overlook Memphis coming into their place, but I think the public might actually, believe it or not, overlook Memphis because their record overall looks so ugly, even though I know it's Memphis, and Memphis has that name recognition. But I think in this game, Memphis might be the right side here. The money doesn't agree. The money's coming in on Tulsa. They're up from 4.5 to 6.5 here. 71% of the cash on them, 57% of the tickets on Memphis. So it does actually look like some of the tickets are coming in on Memphis. I'm surprised by that. You would think that the public would want to just play the team with the better record. You know what I mean? And I'm actually kind of surprised by the line, too. I thought the line would have these teams a little bit closer. But let me consult Ken Baum here. He has Memphis in the top 100. He has Tulsa about 30 ranking spots higher. So Tulsa, the one thing about them is they're really bad defensively, though. Memphis is the much better defense. So that is actually another reason to maybe look towards Memphis. Tulsa's way better offensively, but Memphis is way better defensively. And Memphis is the better defense getting points. And I think they're in a better spot. So I do still lean to Memphis in that game. The market not agreeing with me at all, though. Fox Sports 1. I still have 3 more college basketball plays, by the way. We have night games tonight. Fox Sports 1 at 9 p.m. We have number 1 Arizona hosting Cincinnati. Cincinnati did date, which I liked Cincinnati to cover in that game, and they won outright at home. Big win for Cincinnati, man. But now they have to go to Arizona. I mean, this is obviously a difficult spot. By the line, that actually wasn't that major of an upset. It was only a 5.5-point upset for Cincinnati, but still big-time win when you beat Iowa State, man, on your home floor. The team that was ranked 2 in the country. Huge win. Now they got to go to Arizona. Now, they shouldn't overlook Arizona because Arizona is the number 1 team in the country, rankings-wise, and Ken Baum has them pretty close to that. Ken Baum's got them number 2 behind Michigan. But, you know, it's a tough travel spot. Cincinnati, I don't know if they'll be able to maintain an effort like that 2 games in a row. Arizona's coming off not a great performance at UCF, although, of course, they got the job done and won the game. One other concern with Arizona, though, is they have not been battle-tested in a while. Like, they had a pretty tough out-of-conference schedule. Actually, a really tough out-of-conference schedule, but for whatever reason, their Big 12 schedule has actually been really easy so far, so they have not been battle-tested yet, and that might hurt them when they start playing these bigger teams. Like, at some point, they're going to lose a game, man, and it might be like at BYU or something, just because Arizona hasn't been battle-tested in quite a while, but I don't think it's going to be in this game, obviously. Arizona's going to be a big favorite here. They're coming off a performance that wasn't that good, where they had to go out to Orlando, kind of a weird spot there, even though they were coming off another not very good performance against Arizona State. But you know Arizona State got way up for that game against their in-state big brother. I think this is a spot where Arizona comes in and wins the game by margin. The money is not agreeing with me on this, but I would lay it with Arizona if I was going to play it. Arizona down from 15 to 14 here. 69% of the tickets on them. 77% of the cash coming in at Cincinnati. I don't agree with it. This reminds me of that Iowa State setup from last night, except I liked Iowa State more in that game than I like Arizona in this one. I think it was a stronger situation there, but I still like Arizona in this one, so I don't know what's going on with the market there. But again, I did list my concerns with that one, and the market read is also one of them now as well. Washington at number 7, Nebraska on Big Ten Network. Nebraska still undefeated, along with Arizona and Miami, Ohio, after last night winning in overtime against Kent State. Miami, Ohio still undefeated, man. And Ken Baum doesn't even have them, or he has them barely in the top 100. It is so ridiculous, man. Miami, Ohio. I mean, Arizona is the most legit out of those teams easily. Nebraska's good, but they're not this good. Ken Baum has Nebraska 12th in the country here. They're pretty good, though. They're in the top 25 in both offense and defense. They play slower this year. They're playing a different style this year. They're a dangerous team. Nebraska's hosting Washington here in this game. Washington is coming off loss by margin, let's say, at home to Michigan State. Michigan State beat them by 17 points. Now Washington goes out on the road. Now, it is kind of a weird spot, though, for Washington to have to go to Lincoln, Nebraska. So they're having to travel time zones, having to go to kind of an unfamiliar environment. Might not be that easy. Nebraska just beat Northwestern, kind of a whatever win there, and they only have Minnesota up next, so this isn't really going to be a look-ahead spot or anything like that. They do play Michigan the game after that, though, and likely that's going to be Nebraska's first loss when they play Michigan. This game, probably not. Nebraska's up from 11 to 11.5 here. 80% of the tickets, 96% of the cash on Nebraska. The money is coming in on Nebraska. They're going to be a public side, though. You know, I don't want anything to do with it, although when it's a spot where both teams are not in a bad spot or anything, I mean, I don't really disagree with Nebraska in the game, but I don't want any part of it. We do have number 8 Gonzaga is hosting Pepperdine, and Pepperdine got embarrassed the last time they played Gonzaga, losing by 40 to them at home, so Pepperdine might show up with a better effort here. Pepperdine finally got a conference win, beating Portland at home in their last game. So Pepperdine finally gets that monkey off their back, and they get a win in conference. So at least there's that. They have some momentum here. Gonzaga, I mean, they really don't have reason to just destroy Pepperdine here. I mean, they already did it once. They got San Francisco and St. Mary's on deck. Gonzaga did just beat 2 Washington teams, Washington State and Seattle, both on the road. Gonzaga could easily look right past Pepperdine, although they could easily win this game basically without even showing up. So I would probably take the points with Pepperdine in this one. Gonzaga's laying 28.5. It actually was 30 not that long ago. 88% of the tickets, 96% of the cash on Pepperdine. The total surprisingly low for a Gonzaga home game, 149, because Gonzaga is notorious for playing fast. But Pepperdine's pretty bad. They don't score very well, and Gonzaga is a good defensive team this year. So Gonzaga is actually very balanced. They're 10th in Ken Palm's rankings in both offense and defense. They're legit, man. But again, asking them to win by almost 30 points in a game that they probably don't care about, I would probably lean towards Pepperdine there. But, of course, Gonzaga could probably just name the score in that one. Northern Iowa at Illinois State is on ESPNU. This is a decent game in the Missouri Valley. Again, it's one of the better smaller conferences this year, man. A very competitive Missouri Valley conference. Northern Iowa's not that bad of a team. They've lost 4 games in a row in conference, but 2 of them to Belmont and Bradley. You can kind of excuse those losses. UIC and Valpo, not so much. So I think Northern Iowa's got to come out with some more intensity here, man. After a couple of real ugly losses, I think they might show up for this one. Illinois State coming into this one off of beating Bradley and actually smoking them. That actually ended a 3-game losing streak for them. So they were in danger of also having a 4-game loss streak coming into this. But crushing Bradley, and then they have Belmont and Murray State on deck, and those teams are atop the conference. So Illinois State actually kind of in a sandwich spot, man. They might look ahead to those. So I prefer Northern Iowa in this game. Illinois State went up from 7 to 7.5. It is a low total, 131. So low total, getting points, also something I kind of like to look for. Northern Iowa plays extremely slow. They're the second slowest paced team in the entire country, and they're 25th defensively, according to KenPom. Just their offense is putrid, but they're the better defense getting points in this game. Illinois State, more balanced, but they're just not that great on either side of the ball. They also play pretty slow, so it's looking like it's going to be a slow-paced game. Both teams are actually better defensively than offensively, but you're getting a very good defense with Northern Iowa getting points. So, again, that would have me looking towards Northern Iowa in that game as well. I'm tempted, man. I almost want to add that to my card. I won't, but, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's tempting. Next up, CBS Sports. I do have this one, and man, this one is ugly. And I usually don't want to play against a team. I usually don't want to play against New Mexico. I mean, when they're playing in the pit, but I'm doing it. Fresno State plus the points here against New Mexico, man. I think this is a major sandwich spot here. Fresno State, at least you could say they're kind of used to playing in New Mexico because they do it pretty much every year, I think. They're on a little bit of a 2-game win streak here, so they started playing a little bit better in conference. They beat Colorado State and Wyoming. I know they won those games at home. They do have one conference road win against San Jose State. No big deal, but I think they're at least going to get up for this game against New Mexico, whereas New Mexico, now I know they're dangerous at home. It's a weird spot to play in, high elevation. The pit is called the pit because it goes down underground. It's a loud environment, whatever, but look at what New Mexico is coming off of, man. They just lost to San Diego State by 4 on the road. It was a huge game for New Mexico. San Diego State's actually at the top of this conference right now because Utah State just lost again last night in a hangover spot to UNLV. Really ugly loss for Utah State, but New Mexico playing San Diego State, that was a big game, man, and they lost the game. Now they get Fresno coming off that huge performance there. And they got Nevada on deck. And Nevada's in like 3rd place in the conference right now. So that is a look-ahead spot, I think, as well. So I think this is a sandwich spot, man. So I'm definitely leaning towards Fresno in this one. And then if you look at the conference tournament last year, not a whole lot to see here. New Mexico lost to Boise. That was the team that bounced them last year. So nothing really involving these two teams in the Mountain West tournament from last year. But I think it's purely a sandwich spot here. Fresno looks like the money is agreeing. New Mexico did go up from 13.5 to 14, but 50% of the tickets, 84% of the cash on Fresno. The total did go way up, 5 points to 148, which worries me a little bit because you want it to be an ugly, slow-paced game if you're taking the points, but maybe it still will be. New Mexico, known as this like really fast-paced team, which they are, but they don't play that well offensively this year. They're actually way better defensively. So they're kind of like a mini St. John's in a way where they don't necessarily play these higher-scoring games. They play better defense. They are fairly unlucky, according to Ken Baum, so all that stuff doesn't look that great for Fresno, although Fresno's not really a slow-paced team. They're a mid-tempo team. They're also unlucky, according to Ken Baum. And Fresno, although their offense is really bad, their defense is actually fairly solid. They're actually 70th defensively, according to Ken Baum, in the entire country. So we're looking at two teams that are better on defense than offense, man. We might be looking at a defensive battle in this game, and that is what you want when you're taking points. So we're going to do it. Fresno State plus the points in that one. Dirty Sock, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. All right, and then we got, what else do we have here? Peacock has West Virginia at Arizona State. West Virginia coming off beating Colorado, and they caught Colorado in a good spot, I'm pretty sure. I think Colorado was coming off, a couple of big games against West Virginia, or against Texas Tech and Cincinnati, where they almost pulled off upsets in both those games, and they had Kansas on deck. They did lose to Kansas last night. By the way, I forgot to mention, Bill Self was actually not coaching Kansas last night, so maybe they actually showed up with a little bit more energy last night, like to play for the interim coach or whatever, because Bill Self was hospitalized again. He's not doing well, man, unfortunately. Although I'm not really a Bill Self fan, but I don't want to see the guy in and out of the hospital like that. So, but anyway, that was last night's game. I believe Kansas just barely covered that number. But anyway, we're talking about West Virginia here. West Virginia, they did beat Colorado by double digits. Fine win, I guess. But now they're having to make this Arizona trip. And the bigger deal is facing Arizona in the second game of this trip. So they might actually overlook Arizona State a little bit here. Arizona State's got one conference win. They're down into the bottom of the conference. They're not going anywhere. Bobby Hurley's going to get fired, assuming he's even still there, which I think he is. Arizona State, they just got blown out on the road by Houston. But remember what I talked about with that spot. Arizona State had played really, really tough against Arizona in the game before that, a monster game for them, and they just had nothing left against Houston. Now they're coming back home off of losing by 30 points. This game, I think you got to lean to Arizona State in this one or not play the game. Arizona State up from Pick'em to 2.5. Seems like a strong market read on Arizona State. 50-50 on the tickets, but 96% of the cash on Arizona State. Could have gotten a better number on this. It would have been better to get the pick'em price or a money line. You might still be able to find a decent money line price on Arizona State if you want to go that way on that game. But I would definitely lean to Arizona State in that game. Charles, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. Virginia Tech at Syracuse on ACC Network. Virginia Tech, first of all, if you look at this line, the line is kind of telling you something here, where Syracuse has the worst record, but they're -3.5 here. So Syracuse, at least the odds makers are telling you that these teams are very, very close and how good they are. Although Virginia Tech's been the team that's been on the tournament bubble, Syracuse isn't really there. Virginia Tech did just beat Notre Dame. Not really a big deal, but they do have Louisville on deck, man. So it is possible that maybe this is a little bit of an overlook spot here. Syracuse, still a little bit under the radar, and they just took a pretty ugly loss at Boston College. It didn't end a losing streak for them, but I think maybe Syracuse is in a bounce-back spot here. It's kind of a weird spot for some of these more southernly ACC teams to go up north here. So I would prefer Syracuse in this game. They're down from 4 to 3.5, 56% of the tickets, 94% of the cash on Syracuse. So yeah, I prefer the Syracuse side in that one. Mac, what's up, man? You like the over in this game? It has gone up a little bit from 148.5 to 152, so it does look like there is some money agreeing with the over there. So you've lost a little bit of value on that if you like the over. I don't know if it's going to continue to go up or not. Yeah, I mean, it looks like the money agrees with you. I don't really have much of a reason to not agree. I'm not really a huge totals guy here, but as far as a total, I would always have to look at like how good are these teams defensively? Like what's the tempo going to be like? Syracuse is kind of a mid-tempo team. But of course the number kind of reflects that as well. They're better defensively than offensively. Virginia Tech is also better on defense than offense and also a mid-tempo team. So these teams are actually really, really similar to each other. And Ken Baum has them not separated by much in the rankings either. He has Virginia Tech better by 12 ranking spots. Interesting, they're very similar teams. Just he has Virginia Tech as being a little bit luckier. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about the total in that one, really. Freeman being back for Syracuse. I unfortunately also don't know much about the personnel. I go based off of situations a lot of times and whatever. I really don't know much about the personnel, but Syracuse definitely is playing all right here, and I think they're still being overlooked, even though sometimes you don't overlook them because they're the name Syracuse, but I think people just don't see them as being good because it's like when's the last time they were even in the tournament? It's been a while. We'll see, man, but yeah, my preference in that game is to lay the points with Syracuse. The money seems like it agrees with the over, so I can tell you that, but I don't have much of a feel for the total in that game. SEC Network has Mississippi State at Texas A&M. Mississippi State is coming off a pretty big game, their rivalry game against Ole Miss. Of course, they play twice every year, but that was their home instance of the rivalry game, and they lost right at the end of the game by 1 point. Pretty brutal loss, man. And they have Vanderbilt on deck, and Vandy is a legit team, man. So it's possible they are in a little bit of a sandwich here, even though Texas A&M is second in the SEC standings right now, which I don't think Texas A&M is this good, man. I mean, if you look at like the bracketologies and stuff, including mine, Texas A&M is like barely getting into the tournament right now, so they're not what they look like record-wise. So maybe Mississippi State does kind of overlook them a little bit here. Going on the road to face A&M, not exactly easy either. A&M is coming off a loss they won at Texas, my mistake. So, yeah, I mean, they could be in a little bit of a letdown spot here because they played tough against Tennessee on the road the game before that, and then they pulled off the upset at Texas, and now they're back home. So I don't love the spot really for A&M either here. So it's kind of a stay away for me. I mean, it is a stay away. The money is agreeing with Mississippi State in this one, though. 57% of the tickets on A&M, 66% of the cash on Mississippi State. A&M is an 8.5-point favorite. Mississippi State really just not very good this year. I mean, the money is saying Mississippi State. When I first looked at this, I wanted to look to maybe fade Mississippi State here, but the money's not agreeing with me. I don't really have a strong opinion otherwise, so if you want to agree with the market on that one, I would not really stop you from doing that. As far as the rest of these games are concerned, we do have a CBS Sports game in the WCC late at night, 11 p.m. Oregon State is at St. Mary's. Oregon State, I mean, the drop-off has been pretty bad for this team here. My Action Network, I believe it's The Toad. Let me see. Well, I have it up here. I can just show you. Yeah, it's right here, The Toad. Although you can see all my, whatever. You can see all my stuff there. But yeah, it's The Toad. You can see all my plays for today there anyway. But I've given out a lot of them already. The Toad. I don't have too many followers right now though. And I'm not. I haven't hooked it up to everything. Whatever. It's not verified right now. And as I've pointed out on the show before, I was doing betting. I was doing betting for 18, 19 years basically. It's just a side hustle type of thing, but I've actually not been putting money on almost any of these games recently because I got fired and I was in a situation where tons of my money was frozen and all these different assets that are not liquid. So I'm still giving out these plays as if I'm continuing to bet these, trying to handicap everything the exact same way. And unfortunately, I was really, really hot to end 2025, but not actually having money on almost any of those games. So unfortunately, I want to get back to it. Maybe I should just start doing it fully professionally once I can free up some of this money. We'll see. Oregon State, as I was going to say, the drop-off has been pretty bad for them, man. Since the Pac-12 disbanded. Oregon State's been worse than Washington State since both teams joined the West Coast Conference here. They're coming off a really ugly loss at home to Pacific, although Pacific is actually not terrible this year, but still, you lose at home by 17 and you're Oregon State, that's not a good look. Now, going on the road to St. Mary's, it's not going to be very easy to do that either, but you are asking St. Mary's to cover by a huge margin here. And St. Mary's just lost a long win streak, man, and I talk about this. When teams have a win streak snapped, a lot of times it will hang them over into the next game because they're just not used to losing. And it was a big game against Santa Clara. Santa Clara got a huge win in that game against St. Mary's. Santa Clara trying to announce themselves as in the mix for number 2 in the conference here behind Gonzaga. So St. Mary's could be hung over a little bit here, and you're asking a slope ace St. Mary's team to cover by a huge margin in this one. I would lean towards taking the points with Oregon State in this one. St. Mary's is a 19.5-point favorite. I don't think they're going to lose the game, but total's pretty low, 141.5. Again, St. Mary's slows the game down and gets into a lot of low-scoring games. So I think taking the points makes sense in that game, but that is not one of my that game is not on my card, obviously. All right, the last game that is on my card is this next one up. I told you ugly underdogs, man. Northwestern plus 7.5 is the play here. We're going to fade USC. The number's already down to 6, but it looks like the market is disagreeing with me on this one too. I don't get it. I don't see how Northwestern is a public dog in this game, man. 67% of the tickets, 64% of the cash on them. You know I do not like public underdogs whatsoever, but I'm going based off of the spot. Unfortunately, yeah, I found a 7.5, and now the line's already down to 6. This was at Bally Sports, I think. The number was all over the place, though. But I would still probably take the points in this one, even at 6. Northwestern at 8 and 10, I'll show you in a minute. Ken Baum has them as a very unlucky team. So there is that. Now, I think they're going to be in desperation mode here because they're 0-7 in conference. I think you know you're going to get an effort out of these teams that still don't have a conference win. They're going to keep trying, you know. They've had a pretty difficult conference schedule so far. Michigan State on the road, and they only lost that game by 10, so that wasn't that bad. And then I faded them in the next game. You can explain their Rutgers loss because it was on the heels of that Michigan State game. They lost close to Minnesota, whatever, and then their other losses were Illinois and Nebraska. I mean, their losses are fairly explainable here. Now, yes, it is a concern they're going out to the West Coast, and I don't like these teams that have to adjust to the Pacific time zone in these really late games because it's bad for their biological clock. But I'm doing it in this one, man, because I think you're still going to get an effort out of Northwestern here. And for USC, again, how could the public possibly be on Northwestern as an 8-10 team against a 14-4 USC team? I'm not buying it at all. I don't buy this market read at all. I don't buy those percentages. There's no way that the public is on the Northwestern side here. Now, the main reason we're fading USC here is look at what they just did in their last game, man. They basically took Purdue to the wire. Monster game against Purdue. Purdue's still near the top of the Big Ten. I mean, they're only second to Michigan here in the Big Ten. Purdue, I would still make the argument that Purdue might even be on the same level as Michigan. USC took them right to the wire, man. It was a 1-point game in the final minute of the game. They lost by 5. Monster performance from USC in this game, and they actually weren't that big of an underdog. Well, they were 9.5, so. But that's still a huge game either way. When you take the number 5 team in the country to the limit like that, I think they're going to be in a hangover spot. And I actually think it's worse because they play Wisconsin next, and Wisconsin's doing well again and is one of those named teams in the conference. So I think this is a sandwich spot, man. I don't understand the market read. I like Northwestern in this game. On Northwestern, you can see right here, Ken Baum has them 70th in the country. He does have them 55th in offense, so some things to not hate about Northwestern here. They're bad defensively, I know, at 110, so that's not great. But Ken Baum does have them as literally the unluckiest team in the entire country. Ken Baum has them the literal bottom of his luck index, 365 out of 365. So they are a team that's indicating that they're going to be an undervalued commodity, man. Like, they're not as bad as their record looks. They've faced the 33rd most difficult schedule, according to Ken Baum. So some things to like here. Yeah, USC is obviously the better team here. USC is the better defense, but dude, I like the better defense getting points or when it's a game where it's like pick the winner. But when you're asking the better defense to lay all these points, that's a little bit of a different story. Now, I know USC is going to try to speed the game up. Northwestern wants to go slow, so that is a bit of a concern here that USC might be able to control the pace and throw Northwestern out of their element a little bit. But the total's not high, and it's dropped to 149.5, so the market is expecting this to not be that high scoring of a game. So I think that's good for us playing the underdog here. And as far as luck index, you won't see this big of a disparity almost ever in luck index. Ken Bum has USC as the 8th luckiest team in the entire country. So we have almost the biggest disparity you could possibly have. We have 365 versus 8 in the luck index here. And we want to play on the unlucky team. That is Northwestern. And I think it's, like I said, a bad spot for USC. So we're on Northwestern in that game. Jay Main, what's up, man? Good to see you again. What's up, man? Glad you're alive. Yes, I use Ken Bum. I recommend that people buy it as well because I show his stuff. I try not to show his actual stuff that's behind the paywall because you can see his rankings for free. But I recommend paying for it. It's still cheap. It's like, I think I say it's about $30 a year, so I forget exactly what it is, but well, what are we talking about? JA for 8 assists. What are we talking about? Who's Jay? Dude, I don't know any actual players' names, man. I apologize. 8 assists. I'm not really a prop guy, especially not in college basketball, so I apologize. I don't really do props. All right, let's move over to hockey here. Long show. We had the Nephilim Death Squad guesting earlier on the show as well. So let's go to hockey here, man. I got one play in hockey today. Somewhat of a small board here. A couple of TV games. First at 7 o'clock p.m. TNT and HBO Max and True TV. Detroit at Toronto. Detroit coming into this game off of beating Ottawa in overtime. They've had a couple of days off since then. I worry when teams have a couple of days off that it might break their winning momentum. Now, I also worry that they might actually overlook Toronto as well because Toronto just hasn't been playing that well. And Detroit plays Minnesota on an ESPN game tomorrow night. Both these games are TV games, but that might be a bigger game. But it is also the start of a road trip, and I talk about how teams usually do focus when they are starting a road trip. Beating Ottawa, not that big of a deal because Ottawa's not playing that well. So maybe that momentum does carry into this game against Toronto. Now, for Toronto, they just got killed by Minnesota 6-3 at home, but they were in a terrible spot. Toronto was returning home from a road trip, and I talk about how when teams return home from road trips, they can get distracted. They have family life to get back to. It can definitely become a factor. And if that happens and the team does really bad in that first game, a lot of times they will play a lot better in the second game. So I think Toronto is in a positive spot here. I think they are in a bounce-back spot here. I would lean to Toronto in this game. I have reservations about it, obviously. The money seems like it's agreeing, although Toronto did drop from -130 to -115. They do have 61% of the cash on them, and 58% of the tickets are on Detroit. Detroit, it makes sense they're going to be a public side. If you see the better record as an underdog, which is the case with Detroit here. But, yeah, those are my thoughts on that game. You want the Vancouver Canucks. I have one play, and that is not my game. That does seem like a degenerate game. Vancouver trying to break an 11-game losing streak, but I will talk about that game. Anaheim is at Colorado. Colorado's a massive favorite in this game. Anaheim's won 4 games in a row. They did just beat the Rangers. Now they're going out on the road with some momentum. So I don't think it's a terrible spot for Anaheim. Starting a road trip, usually your focus, like I said. Of course, Colorado will draw your focus. So Anaheim's in a fine spot. Colorado did just beat Washington at home, so could argue maybe it's a little bit of a letdown spot, although Washington hasn't been playing well recently. Wedgwood was back in net for Colorado, so goalie injuries seem to be a thing of the past now for Colorado. They seem to be back with their goalies back here. They do play Philadelphia next. I mean, I don't know if they're going to overlook Anaheim for an East Coast team, but Anaheim hasn't been playing that well, so I probably prefer Anaheim in this game, getting a huge underdog price, but I don't want to get involved. Colorado down from -292 to -284 on the money line. 80% of the tickets, 96% of the cash on Colorado here, but I would probably lean towards like an Anaheim puck line or something like that to keep this game close, although it's a high total. Heavily juiced on the 6.5 to the over, so almost a 7 total in that game. Philadelphia at Utah is my play here. We're going to go with, you know who we're going with, man, because I'm always on this team. They treated me well last time. Hopefully they do again, especially because I have one of their jerseys now. We're going to be on the Mammoth, and we're going to make it a split bet. They're actually a big favorite in this game, somewhat big. We're going partially on the -1.5 puck line at +145, partially on the money line at -166. These are the calculations that I did. I always do it based on the 300, which is what I usually bet to win. But if you base it off of 100, this one comes out to about 2/3 of the bet on the money line in this case, because what you want to do is put the amount on the money line. The amount that you're going to win on the money line should be the exact amount that you put on the puck line. So then if they win the game, but they win by 1, it'll be a push. So you're basically making your own -1, puck line in this case, and it comes out to a -109 price on this. So I think it's good. I like doing this, you know me, even though it is more risk averse to do it this way. That's what we're doing. And I forget what else I was going to say about this. Oh yeah, and if you have a bunch of books at your disposal, you can get this price into a really good territory by finding like the best price on the puck line at one book, the best price on the money line at a different book, you know, so it works out well that way. I think Philadelphia's in a bad spot here, man. Philadelphia, they just pulled off an upset of Vegas, and yes, it did break a losing streak. So sometimes when a team breaks a losing streak, they will carry the momentum forward, but they were a big underdog in this game at Vegas, man. -230 was the price on Vegas. This is a big win for Philadelphia, and this game was tied late into the game, third period, and Philadelphia won the game on a shorthanded goal. So they were definitely on the verge of potentially losing this game, and they were able to pull the game out of their ass. And if you look at what happened statistically, yeah, Philadelphia won the face-off battle big time, but they really were not the better team in the game. Vegas had more shots in the game. Philly did not have that many shots on goal. Vegas was the more physical team in the game as well. So Philadelphia got kind of a misleading win in this game. And they have to go into elevation now into Utah. And to make matters worse than that, they got Colorado on deck, man, to finish the road trip. So I think this is a sandwich spot. We're looking towards Utah in this one. Utah is on a little bit of a win streak here. A 3-game win streak, but nothing that I think is going to make them overconfident. They're way more rested, although, yes, I'm going to worry about it a little bit because they've had 3 days off, and I do worry about that when you're going into 3 days off with momentum. Having the days off might disrupt your momentum, so that is what I worry about with Utah here. But they beat Seattle. I mean, they actually beat Seattle on the heels of beating Dallas, where I thought Utah might be in a letdown spot, and they were not. They beat Seattle easily. So, yeah, the thing I worry about the most with Utah is the rest, but it's going to make my card. We'll be on Utah here. They'll try to, well, not sweep the homestand, but they'll try to go, what is this? They'll try to go 6-1 on the homestand here, and they don't have a bigger game up next. Their next game is up against Nashville, so they shouldn't be looking ahead. Utah from -165 to -170 on the money line here. The odds makers are telling you something by lining Utah as that big of a favorite against Philadelphia. Teams have similar-ish records, but the odds makers are telling you Utah is actually the better team. 98% of the tickets, 100% of the cash. Obviously, I wouldn't read anything into those numbers. Those numbers don't mean anything yet. Looks like there has been a little bit of traction on the over in the game, which does help the favorite potentially. It's easier for the favorite to cover a puck line, of course, if the total is higher. So I like Utah in that one. That is the play. Pittsburgh is at Calgary. This is kind of an ugly game, man. I mean, Pittsburgh is really not as good as their record looks. Pittsburgh just smacked Seattle 6-3, but that was a win that we had on the show the other day. If you remember, Seattle was returning home from a road trip. So I said we're going to fade Seattle. Pittsburgh was starting a road trip. So starting a road trip, usually a very positive spot. Returning home from a road trip, usually very negative. So we got the win with that one. But now Pittsburgh goes to Calgary off a 6-3 win, and they play Edmonton tomorrow. So I think there could be a look-ahead component here. Now, yes, maybe they will show up because Calgary did beat them in Pittsburgh not that long ago, back on January 10th. But there is still the worry they're going to be looking ahead here. Calgary did just lose at home to New Jersey. Calgary is staying at home. New Jersey, it was an overtime game. New Jersey's just not playing that well right now, so I don't know if Calgary's really going to be in a hangover spot or anything like that. I think they might still show up for the game, so I don't know. I kind of prefer Calgary in this game, but the money is completely disagreeing with that. Calgary, 67% of the tickets on them, 90% of the cash on Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh up from -110 to -120, so this is a really strong market read on Pittsburgh in that game, so I would not want to fade a market read like that, so use this information, the way that you want to, of course. The second TV game, also on TNT, True TV, and HBO Max, is New York Islanders at Seattle here. Wouldn't say this is necessarily a good game. The Islanders are the better team, but they are on the road here. Islanders just beat Vancouver. What else is new? Islanders are finishing up a long road trip here, man, but I believe they're 3-3 on the road trip right now, so if they care about that, they'll want to finish with a win and get a winning road trip out of it. So I think maybe they'll be motivated for that reason. Beating Vancouver by 1 is not anything they're going to be overconfident about or hungover after doing. Seattle, though, they're in a pretty positive spot here, man, because as I said, they were in a road trip return spot in their last game, and they got crushed by Pittsburgh. And I always say when teams do really badly in that first game back home, a lot of times they play a lot better in the next game at home because now they're settled in. Whatever they had to do at home is done. They can focus on hockey. So I think it is a positive spot for Seattle. Probably would lean to Seattle in this one. 70% of the tickets are on the Islanders, 52% of the cash on Seattle. The money seems to agree with me here. They're up from -105 to -107. So the Islanders are not that heavy of a favorite here, man, interestingly. So it almost looks kind of too easy to play the Islanders as a small favorite here. So, yeah, I would lean to Seattle, which I think the Islanders are a small favorite. Pre-game just shows it a little bit weird, but, yeah, they're about a -115 favorite, at least on DraftKings. I almost said ESPN Bet, but ESPN got rid of that. They sold it off to The Score, which is an app that I use. The Score is my score widget app that I use on my phone, by the way. I like it. It's been mine. It's been my go-to for that for a long time. But now they have a betting. They have a sports book. They bought out ESPN Bet. All right. Washington at Vancouver. This is your degenerate special here. Both these teams are actually on a losing streak. Washington's lost 3 games in a row, but 2 of them are to Florida and then Colorado on the road. But they got wrecked in those games, giving up 5 goals each. So I don't really see Washington overlooking this game, man. So I don't know that I really want to be on Vancouver in this one. Vancouver is staying at home. They're coming off a closer loss to the Islanders here. Of course, you got to think they're going to show up because they're on this hideous 11-game losing streak or whatever this is. So they should still show up as well. But this is one of those games where it might come down to the better team, man. Both teams are trying to break losing streaks. I probably prefer Washington in this game, especially because I like Ovechkin, and the majority of the Washington team refused to put the pride branding on their sticks the other day, if you saw that. We're not putting rainbows on our sticks, man. Doesn't sound good, but yeah, I liked that at least. Ovechkin is old school, baby. He's been in the NHL since I was in college, man. That is since my early days in college. That's so insane. 56% of the tickets, 84% of the cash on the Capitals. So the money seemingly is indicating on the Capitals. I don't really disagree with it. So, yeah, I would not want to be on the Vancouver Ken sucks in that spot. And then we do have NBA. I do have one NBA play, I believe. We have an ESPN doubleheader in the NBA tonight, starting with Cleveland at Charlotte. Oh, boy. Although this actually is a competitively lined game, interestingly. I have my mixed thoughts about this. Cleveland's coming off getting blown out by Oklahoma City. I know it was Oklahoma City, but nobody wants to lose by 32 points in their own arena, man. So I think Cleveland will show up for this game. It's a TV game coming off an embarrassing loss. I don't think this is a bad spot for Cleveland. Charlotte is obviously the worst of the two teams, although, as I'll show you in a minute, the odds makers are giving Charlotte a pretty good amount of respect, actually, telling you that Charlotte's not actually really as bad as their record looks, but Charlotte is in a terrible spot. They just wrecked Denver, just annihilated them, man. A 110-87. Of course, it was without Jokic, but still, you beat Denver like that on the road, that's a monster win, and now Charlotte's returning home from a road trip that they've been on since January 10th. And you know I talk about it. I'm going to say it again. When a team returns home from a road trip, they can be distracted. They have to get back to home life. In this case, they have to go back out on the road for a game against Orlando next. So one game tomorrow. So they really don't have a lot of time to get stuff done here. So I think it could be a distracted spot here. Could be a letdown spot off the Denver game. My only issue with it is it's a TV game that Charlotte is hosting, and it's against the Cavs, who are still a pretty good team. So that is my one concern about it. Although I have concerns with the way the market looks as well, but I lean to Cleveland in this game. But I'll show you the market in a second. I do have some concerns with it. For Cleveland, Garland is out. What else is new? But that's really the only thing that's going on with Cleveland here as far as the injury report is concerned. So not really that much of an issue there. Now, looking at the line, though, in this game, it does look really, really easy to play Cleveland. They're down from 3.5 to 3 here, but actually the market read is indicating on Cleveland. You know what? I kind of think I want to jump in. I think I want to add a play here on Cleveland. 61% of the tickets, 73% of the cash on Cleveland. The market read looked to be disagreeing with me before, but now I think it's agreeing with me on this. You know, I think it's just a miserable spot for the Hornets, man. Even though, yes, I do have those reservations about it being a TV game against the Cavs and whatever, the Cavs are still the better team. Hold on, let me see. How good or bad are the Hornets at home? Let me see. They're not good at home, 7-12, Charlotte. Cleveland is okay on the road at 10-9. Probably don't really have that big of a home road split there. Yeah, you know what? Let's do it. Let's add a play. We'll be on Cleveland minus the 3 or whatever. Tons of plays today, man. We got 8 plays. My Instagram is going to be busy, which I don't like because it's a lot of work for me, man. Especially given that I'm not even profiting off of this right now, other than the small amount of money I'm getting on the audio platforms and stuff. We got to monetize this YouTube channel, man. Cleveland minus 3. There you go. We're going to do it. Actually, let me see what the best number is that I can get on this. But, yeah, I hate the spot for Charlotte, man. I really do. Let me see here. Yeah, minus 3 looks like it's the best. I do see some minus 2 with heavier juice on it. I see a couple of money lines in the minus 140 something range. So if you want to do that, maybe that's what you want to do as well. But we'll go with Cleveland minus 3. All right, Indiana at Boston here. My Boston Celtics. Indiana coming off 2 straight losses, but they had a pretty tough game against Philadelphia on Monday. Now they're playing a 3rd straight road game against the Celtics. They do play the Thunder next. I don't think Indiana's going to overlook the Celtics, though they did beat the Celtics in Indiana back on January 12th, so the Celtics might have some adjustments to make based off of that. Indiana is coming off that tough game against Philadelphia, so maybe they run out of steam a little bit in this game. Celtics are coming off a pretty difficult game at Detroit, though. That was a big game, and the Celtics are returning home from a road trip, so I don't like that. Again, the road trip return spot, they've been away since Monday the 12th. When you go on a road trip, you return home from the road trip, a lot of times you'll be distracted. You have to get back to home life. Celtics have to go back out on the road for Friday against Brooklyn. So Celtics really have very little time to get stuff done at home, man. So I think it's not a great spot for the Celtics, except that maybe they'll show up because Indiana did just beat them to start that road trip. So this one I don't want to be on. I'll lean towards the Pacers in the game. The money seems to agree with it. I think the Celtics probably get the job done and win the game. I mean, they're a huge favorite here, but hopefully, for my sake, hopefully they win as a Celtic fan. I don't care if they cover or not, but I lean to the Pacers plus the points here. Celtics down from 11.5 to 11, 82% of the tickets, 70% of the cash on them. So the money is agreeing with me on that one on the Indiana side. Brooklyn at the Knicks, the Battle of New York here. Brooklyn is on a 2-game losing streak. You got to think they'll show up for a game against the Knicks. It's technically a road game, but of course they're just traveling within New York City. It's a 3rd game in 4 days, though, and the first of those games was at Chicago, but I still don't see that being that big of a deal. Staying in the New York area for this one. Now, the Knicks probably are going to be in bounce-back mode here, but they've lost 4 games in a row, and they're coming off an embarrassing blowout loss to Dallas. And I talked about that game, man. I leaned to Dallas in the game. I did not think that Dallas was going to win the game outright and do it by 17 points. I did not think that. The Knicks were like a 10.5 point favorite, but one of the reasons I didn't like the Knicks in that game is, remember, Brunson was returning from an injury, so it was one of those reverse injured player theory spots that I talk about where the star player comes back, the line has to adjust to him coming back. It usually over-adjusts because that player has to get used to playing again. The team can kind of take their foot off the gas a little bit and be like, oh, good, our star player is back. But if the team does really bad in that first game, a lot of times they play a lot better that second game that he's back, and that is the case here. So I don't think I'd want to be fading the Knicks in this one, man. The Knicks look like they don't have anybody listed on the injury report right now, according to the injury report on ESPN. Knicks are up from 11 to 11.5 here. It is a low total of 221, but I would lean to the Knicks in this game. 73% of the tickets, 79% of the cash on the Knicks. I mean, they're just clearly the better team and in a spot where I think they'll actually show up for the game. So that is my opinion in that one. The Knicks, who do they play next? They do play Philadelphia next on ABC on Saturday. So you could argue that is a look ahead because it's a bigger game. It's a TV game, but I still lean to the Knicks in the game. Atlanta at Memphis. This is kind of an ugly game here, man. Atlanta coming off, they're on a 4-game losing streak. They played okay in their last game at home against Milwaukee, but they lost the game. At least Milwaukee does have Giannis playing. Now Atlanta has this weird single-game road trip to Memphis, but when you're on a 4-game losing streak, you're probably going to be focused on whoever your next opponent is. Memphis is, I think, in the worst spot because they're returning home from Europe, where they just played 2 games against Orlando in Berlin and then London, with the London game being on Sunday, and now they're returning home from London. Kind of a weird spot for an NBA team, not used to it like that. So if they had a bigger game on deck, I might actually play Atlanta here, give out Atlanta as a play, because then there'd be a look-ahead component to it. But unfortunately, they only have New Orleans next. But I still think it's kind of a bad spot for the Grizzlies returning home from London like that. The money is disagreeing with me on this, but I would probably play the Hawks if I was going to play it. Grizzlies down from 2 to 1.5 here. 54% of the cash on the Grizzlies, 68% of the tickets on the Hawks. So public look like they're kind of leaning towards the Hawks there, but I don't know, man. The market read doesn't agree with me, but Memphis, I think that return home from Europe is just a weird spot to be in, where I would not want to be on that team. Porzingis is still out for the Hawks. What else is new? Achilles injury. He's not going to be back for a while. Zach Edey continues to be out. So both big men, if you want to say that, are out on either side there of that game. No change between one game and the next. Those guys have both already been out for a while. Next game up is my other play of the day, and we're going to be on New Orleans. The Pelicans, they've treated me all right, man. They cover a lot of times I jump in on them. I think they're a better team than their record makes it look at the very least. And I think we're getting Detroit in a bad spot here. We're going to be on the trusty Pelicans again here, man, to cover the number. I think this number is actually up to 11. It goes to 11. I got to bring that in. That needs to be a drop. RIP to Rob Reiner. We got to bring the Spinal Tap reference here. Now, the Pistons are up from 7.5 to 11 in this game. I don't even know why the line has moved. I got to look at the injury report, but I don't really care why, because I think we're getting extra value at least. 80% of the tickets, 91% of the cash on the Pistons. Does look like the money's coming in on the Pistons for now, but I think there's got to be some injury information or something that gets pushing the line up like that. And I think it's giving us extra value on the Pelicans, and I think Detroit's in a bad spot, and they will be the public side here, so we're fading Detroit in this one. Detroit just beat Boston. That was a big win, man, because now Detroit owns the tiebreaker against the Celtics if it does come down to that. Detroit has won. I thought they'd only played 2 games against each other this year, but they've played 3, actually now 4. So their season series is over, and Detroit is 3-1 against Boston. That was a big win against the Celtics. It was a close game. Now they play New Orleans in this weird single road game going down to New Orleans. And up next, they got an Amazon Prime game on Friday against the Houston Rockets. That's going to be a bigger game, man. Houston is a better team. So I think we're looking at a sandwich spot here. Kind of an odd spot for Detroit. I prefer New Orleans in this game. Obviously, well, we're going to be on New Orleans, so I like New Orleans in this one. Now, I know New Orleans is coming off a 9-point loss to Houston, so I was looking at that and worrying a little bit, but I looked at how that game ended, and they were down double digits in the final couple of minutes of the game, so the game wasn't that close. They didn't take Houston to the wire or anything like that. I think we actually won on the Pelicans in that game. I think they covered for us in that game. But they've actually had 2 days off. They're returning home from a road trip, I know, and I know that didn't work out well for me yesterday with the hockey play where we had Nashville returning home from a 2-game road trip. But I'm a little bit less concerned about this 2-game road trip. I mean, not only is it only a 2-game road trip, so it's not one of those full, long road trips where the team was away from home for a long time. They weren't. They were only away Friday, Sunday. But they finished in Houston, so the trip back from Houston to New Orleans is very short. And they've had a couple of days off, which I think might actually help them. Sometimes I argue that it will settle a team in at home and make it even worse, but I don't think that's going to be the case here because I think it might actually at least break their losing momentum because they lost both games on the road trip. Short road trip. Yeah, a lot of times you don't want to look at it that way, and a lot of times when a team has a bad road trip, they will not bounce back from that road trip. But again, it's a short road trip. I think the extra rest might help them break the losing momentum in this case. I don't think they're going to overlook the team that has the best record in the Eastern Conference, even though, yes, New Orleans does start a road trip next, so they're only at home for this one game here. So I do worry about that kind of a road trip sandwich spot, which is usually a negative. But in this case, I think the real sandwich is what Detroit is in. So we will be on the Pelicans in that game, plus the points, and that is the final play that I have here. The second ESPN game is OKC at Milwaukee. At least Milwaukee has Giannis back, so it makes it a little bit more of an attractive game to watch. The Thunder just crushed Cleveland, so they might be feeling a little bit high on themselves after that. Probably not going to really overlook an ESPN game, but maybe they're just feeling a bit too high on themselves coming into this one. Milwaukee did just break a losing streak with a win over Atlanta. So I think they're in an okay spot here after breaking a losing streak. They can maybe carry that momentum into this game, but they are technically returning home from a road trip that they've been on for almost a week, but it was only a 2-game road trip to San Antonio and Atlanta. It was just weird. They had like a big break in the middle of that 2-game road trip. Very strange road trip, but at the very least, it does mean they're rested coming into this game, having only played once in the last 6 days, basically. So that's not bad for them either. I think I would probably lean towards taking the points of the Bucks here, but the money is disagreeing. The Thunder up from 9 to 9.5 here. 74% of the tickets, 91% of the cash on the Thunder. So the money is indicating on the Thunder in that one. So do with that information what you want. And then we have Toronto at Sacramento as the last game of the night. Toronto just crushed Golden State on the road. That was, I believe, the first game without Jimmy Butler, right? Because Jimmy's no longer in the mix there, man. Jimmy Butler, unfortunately, is not there.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Jimmy. Jimmy's ready. Jimmy's got some new moves. Go, Jimmy. Check Jimmy out. Oh, Jimmy's down!
Jimmy's down for the rest of the season. So Toronto took advantage of that at the very least, and they beat Golden State, but it was still an upset on the road of Golden State. And I thought Golden State maybe might play a little bit better in that first game without Butler. Whatever. It didn't happen. Toronto got a blowout win, scored 145 points yesterday. And now they're playing a third game in 4 days, all in different cities. Although I know going from the Bay Area to Sacramento is not a huge trip, but still a lot of games here, man. And actually, they're playing 4 games in 6 days, all in different cities, because weirdly they played both LA teams. So the first one of those was in Toronto. So the scheduling spot's pretty packed here for Toronto, man, so I don't love it for Toronto. Sacramento did play yesterday as well, but they're staying at home. They've been at home for a long time. They haven't been on the road since January 9th. They played all home games except for that Golden State one since January 4th. So Sacramento hasn't left Northern California since January 2nd. So almost an entire month. Really crazy scheduling, but I think that'll benefit Sacramento in this game. Yeah, they're playing a third game in 4 days and whatever, but they're staying at home. They just got killed by Miami yesterday. So I think the spot does set up better for the Kings in this game. Although we see 78% of the cash and 90% of the tickets on the Raptors. I don't really agree with that. The Raptors up from 4.5 to 6. I lean towards taking the points of the Kings in this one. And, of course, you got to see what's going on with the injury report. The Kings are somewhat at full strength now, man. I mean, they got Sabonis is back, which is a big deal for them, and Levine has been back for a bit as well. RJ Barrett is kind of always the concern on the Toronto side. He didn't play last night. We don't know if he's playing tonight. He hasn't played since the 9th, so we don't know when he's coming back. Although, if he does come back, it might be a little bit of a reverse injured player spot for Toronto there. He's probably their, I don't know, third best player or something like that. So, third best scorer at least. But that's going to do it, man. We got a lot of plays today. We got, I think, 9 plays maybe today. 8 maybe, whatever it is. College basketball, we're on Texas plus the points. Fordham plus the points. Wait, did I talk about Fordham or did I completely skip that? Hold on. I might have to go back and handicap that. I think I completely skipped it. East Carolina plus the points. Fresno plus the points. Northwestern plus the points. Hockey, we got Utah. Split bet, puck line, money line. NBA, Cleveland minus the points. New Orleans plus the points. You can get a better number on that right now. And I apologize. I completely missed it. I don't know how I skipped this game, man. But we do have an A10 game where we're going to be on Fordham here. I apologize. Let's do it real quick. Where is this game? Fordham is at Davidson here. Fordham is coming off 2 straight losses. Of course, they lost at St. Louis. No surprise there. But then they lost to Duquesne in the next game. I think they might be in a bounce-back spot here, man. This Fordham team only has 1 win in conference. I think they're going to be looking to play better. But really, this is all about Davidson being in a really bad spot here. Davidson just pulled off the upset on the road at George Washington. Decent upset for Davidson here. They were 9.5, 10-point underdogs basically in this game against GW. So it was a big game for them. And Davidson shot out of their minds in this game. 56% from 3-point range. I mean, come on, man. Whereas George Washington had way more possession, so there's no way Davidson should have even won this game, and it's so misleading. George Washington had 18 more field goal attempts in the game, yet they only had 1 more field goal make because they only shot 40% compared to Davidson's 52%, and from 3, GW only shot 28%, so this was a major outlier of a game, man. And Davidson somehow on the road went to the free throw line more. Both teams were terrible from the free throw line, but whatever. Davidson, I know they did win the rebounding battle by 1, and they did actually lose the turnover battle and still win the game. But other than that, this was just a very misleading shooting game for Davidson, so that's not good. I think Davidson regresses in this game. There's a lot of room for regression there, and they have a huge game against VCU up next. VCU is one of the best teams in the conference still, man, and they played George Mason the game after that, and they're sitting atop the A10 right now, tied with St. Louis with the tiebreaker. So I think this is a big-time sandwich spot that they're in, man. We're going to go with Fordham in this one. If we look at Ken Baum's rankings here, he's got Davidson very lucky at 36th in luck, so he has them as not being even as good as their record looks. They're not great on either side of the ball, though they're somewhat better defensively. They play slow, so I tend to want to fade teams when they're laying points as a slow-paced team, and Davidson better defensively than offensively, so we could be looking at a slow, low-scoring game here. Fordham also plays really slow. Fordham, by the way, is extremely unlucky, according to Ken Baum. So we have a huge luck disparity here as well, according to Ken Baum. They're the 11th unluckiest team in the country. So Fordham should be a little bit better than they look. Fordham is also a lot better offensively than defensively than offensively. Yeah, they're weak offensively, but they played decently defensively in the top half defensively in Ken Palm's rankings. So it looks like we're going to get a slow-paced game where both teams are better defensively than offensively. So I like taking the points when that's the case. Money seems to agree. Davidson did drop from 6 to 4.5. So I know we're not getting the better number on this, but 62% of the tickets, 63% of the cash on Fordham. Low total, like I said, at 131.5, although it has gone up a little bit, but still expected to be a low-scoring game. So that is the game that I missed. I apologize. Fordham is also on the list for today on the card. That's going to do it. Learn to Toad on Instagram, Learn to Toad on Twitter. You can check me out at those places. You can subscribe to me on Twitter as well. Like, subscribe, boost this channel here, man, please. I appreciate it is what I want to say. I appreciate all you guys coming in this morning, man. Let's get the numbers up. I know I'm way too autistic about this maybe, but I want to start winning again, and let's get back into the flow, get some momentum here. Give me good comments on the channel as well. We're on audio as well. Reviewing on audio helps me out on Apple and Spotify. Listening helps me out there as well. Covered in Uke is my ukulele channel on YouTube. You can check that out as well. Patreon.com/LearnToToad if you want to throw me some support. And I know I need to be better over there at getting stuff up. There's a Spotify Uke feed, and I do Uke requests. I know I have to get better at that. I have some requests in the mix, like, hopefully I'll be able to do that. I know there's a lot of focus here with what I'm doing with the betting stuff, but yeah, hopefully I can get some of those things done. I know if the uke, I just haven't been doing a lot of uke in general recently, so, and my voice sometimes isn't up for it. I'm surrounding myself with humidifiers, trying to fix it a little bit. And then what else? Oh, Loser Cast. We were on last night. I nominated a new loser who was a porn star who had massive breast implants, and one of them exploded and almost killed her, and then she had to get the other one removed. A couple of years ago that happened, and then just this past month, she died by falling out of a 9th-story window. So you can go watch us describe her tale on Losercast from last night. That's going to do it, guys. I appreciate it. I'll be back tomorrow morning as well. Any thoughts on Vancouver? I talked about that game. I like Washington in the game. I lean towards the Capitals in that game. You can go back. If you go back to my hockey segment, I broke it down. I analyzed it. Were you in a coma or something? Dude, I don't know. I fly through all these things. But J-Main, you can go back. It was at the very end of the hockey segment. You can go back and find it there. I'm going to put the chapters up once I descript this thing, so hopefully that'll help you find it as well. That's going to do it. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I'll be back tomorrow morning. Peace.